operated.
Right.
So you got to check them constantly. Those are hardwired, so you don't have to do that for those. So you turn this one to you, so you can see the green light if you're sitting in the wonder chair. And the wonder chair is because I wonder what I'm doing half the time. So back here.
So you want a green light, huh?
Yep. So here's the dead giveaway. So I normally keep
Spares.
right here. So see if somebody's for you. It's been a while. So those could be dead too. So find out. It's 2 or 3. Right?
Yes, two.
So 2 or 3 bags.
2.
2. So see if those are any good.
All right. See me.
Yeah, you have to give it a minute to see if it
Yeah.
see if it'll actually work.
Good grief.
Sorry?
Good grief, you take that serious.
I need a screwdriver. You got something or semblance of a screwdriver?
Yeah, I think it's too
That's
small
it.
though. No, it's gonna bend.
I think you're there. That'll be good for today. Testing. All complaints should be heard on Mondays to Frank Etheridge.
Water.
Got plenty.
Yeah.
And there's me and you. 10, we all count. How many more we need?
I got
You too, my dear. So where are we going Wednesday?
Wednesday, we're going back to Charleston, for a week, and I told you we think we found one. She's done all the journals, most of them.
Did we hear back from CSI?
Yeah, they told me to look through the stuff and figure it out, but it looks like some of it might be CSI.
All right.
But we'll see.
Have a wonderful trip. Do they have ice tea? certain, I'm not sure who to yell at. Hell, I was just trying to get outdoors before you came in.
That's our boss man, in case you haven't met him.
Good to see you.
See you, brother.
Everybody right? How are
How
you,
you
sir?
doing?
Must be Mr. Etheridge.
Yes, sir.
They got you the biggest office back here, don't they? Good to see you.
How you doing?
Good, good. Hope you're well.
Trying.
Good.
I just need to get through this week and I'll be good.
Yeah, and we'll just pick one more. I'm going to, while I'm here, see if I can get this variant stuff with you. I can figure out what what distance he's requesting. So y'all are gonna have to help me with what zone he's in and all that stuff.
Use ag,
Ag,
so the 35 on the side.
I'm sorry?
This should be about 35 on the side.
Yeah.
You want to do 11.
Well,
We
okay.
doesn't need that. Let's do the survey. It's really gonna go. We need about 5 or 6.
Okay,
And do the survey and see it.
okay, but he didn't,
Report the plat.
yeah, okay, okay, yeah. Well, that's what I wanna make sure of before I wrote in his request. I want to do what he's wanting to do, so. Alright, I'll write that down where I can get it. 35 to 11. And then I can process, I think I've got the neighbors to notify and all that stuff. Yeah.
We got a funeral the other day, like I was 100 years old. Yeah, he done beat you to 100.
Done all done it.
Done now, done.
How you doing this evening?
Doing pretty good. How you doing, Frank?
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. How you doing, sir?
Wow, how you doing?
Pretty good. Right there.
Mercy.
That's the new assistant manager.
You okay?
Yeah, you just met him.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
well,
I
okay.
don't wanna run into that gun thing.
Okay. Hey, how you doing,
Come here.
fella?
I need your picture.
Uh-oh.
Come here.
What?
Come
I
here.
got your birthday cake.
You got
Birthday cake. He ain't 100 yet.
This says 99.
But he's knocking on the door, ain't
Yeah, let me get my camera.
How about
he?
that?
He wants to take a picture. Come on.
Oh, well, okay. Oh,
And I put that's the best picture I had of you. Up there.
where am I going?
Run up here where your cake is.
He just bossing you around.
I know it.
That is a good picture up there.
Come over here, stand right here so I can get a picture of you and the cake. Come over here. Come right over here.
Oh.
mean, this is the way I've taken them all these years, so we don't wanna change from that. All right, stand right here, come on up here. We can get you and the 99 together.
We had a few like certain, one 100. He didn't look a day over 80.
There you are, brother. We'll eat in a little bit.
I can't
Well,
take
we
it,
had
but
one.
I appreciate all of you.
About a
Well,
week
we
ago,
appreciate you.
on
We
the
love you
center.
for it.
You know,
They had this guy, Scotty Free was
I'm
his
still-
name, 61 years old.
we have time to like it with you.
Well,
He
we'll
had
do that.
a
I'm gonna
Ford Chevrolet
bring my buddy Frank over.
He wanted to haul
Lula.
it. And it went and been fixed up, it looked like it was. We've had them hauled and everything, but we ain't never pulled one through yet.
We have that, I got one little spot over here. Everybody tracks in anyway. Can't just hit it right. I need to show you something, Garner.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds. Get the highlights anyway.
There'll be more here. Don't think there'll be a lot of cake for us, ain't
Right. Well, it's early. It's early. Why that in my office, everything else is thrown in there, so.
Well, we're going to see my man, to look at the numbers on Mr. Reynolds.
No. Can I send him a reminder to that?
Right, well, they do have a lawyer, but fortunately they've got John Dickerson. He called me this afternoon, said he just soon put it over, he won't be here tonight. So he won't be prepared to discuss it until next week. And so I'll just explain the process.
I'll put a copy of everybody.
Yeah, and I said, I'm gonna tell him the process.
I got my
He
stuff
kept
in
saying,
storage up here.
well, do you have the resolution back from the county? And I said, no, for our
Which,
citizens.
in my opinion, we gotta have that first.
We do, but I said, for our citizens, we try to give a preliminary report from the city, because if we're gonna deny it, they deserve to know that.
Yeah.
To know whether they wanna go forth, and the county deserves to know that. So, he said, that is nice, and so he understands it's not final and all that stuff.
That makes
He
it
said, would you have a reason under the statute, the public health safety contract? I said, well, my road's crumbling, and we're on top of 4 years. He said,
I've
that's
got a
only.
rough week with my
A
wife.
reasonable explanation, doesn't it?
And I said, but my engineer told Mr.
job.
And his proposal was a good one, so it may be a moot point unless they've got other reasons they want to vacate the city.
Alright, so what I have here, I'm gonna show the Garnet.
Ronnie's gonna be so happy.
Well, no,
I know he's not.
I want to show it to him first.
Yeah.
Come here, Garnet. Come out here to our office.
Oh, okay.
And if you got anything to say, Frank's gonna be with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I can get involved in him first time?
Well,
Huh?
We'll probably get that while we're hiring, and that's what they're talking about.
Joey, sitting in the dark there, son.
That's fine. Same as the light field.
All right, gonna nap, gonna be napping.
That's right. Back to where we can get out of here while it's still daylight.
Oh my, well, Dennis is back, so I got that.
Funny you say that, cause I told Sabrina that leaving, I said, you know, thank the world of Dennis, but my meeting will run a little bit longer this evening.
Yes, it will be. Hi. Yes, I know, I'm like, so it's so funny, I guess, Frank had asked about like the meetings and stuff, and I was like, well, normally we're in and out. I was like, about an hour or so, we're kinda in and out, and I was like, but if Dennis is here, I was like, no, we're gonna be here for a minute. Hi, Mordecai. We're gonna be here for a minute. When the, agendas are right here, honey. Good deal. I'm
Oh, that's what it is. For an old guy, I'm thanking God all the way.
That's all.
And then there's some stuff about DOT, railroad days, if y'all want any of that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he likes to, boss man's back, so he likes to, you know,
Yeah.
get it all out here. Yeah.
Hello. Hi.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, fine. It's not my own.
No, that's their music. Hi, Joey.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. How's everything going?
Good, thank you.
Everybody behaving themselves?
I'm still Lula.
Do you take any other cases or are you just ours?
No, I do other cases.
What kind of cases do you do?
I do, well, I represent, obviously not here, but some people that need zonings and variances and other things with local governments. Represent a couple of development authorities,
Hold on a minute.
represent, some constitutional officers, sheriff, tax commissioners, clerks of court, and then I've got some private cases, mostly land easements, contract disputes, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's, legal stuff is so, specialized,
Yeah,
just like everything else.
yeah. Lately, I read somewhere, Lula sites, that Wellmeyer
Yes.
almost called him to see if he was doing
So
okay.
somebody sent it to me, was like, is this fake? And so it's crazy, like, in the mornings or late afternoons, like, we have like 5 minutes till, or early in the morning, I'll get on, I'll join the crime.
Right.
It's funny, like, it's not funny, because I've been there, but, like, I normally know somebody, so it's funny, White will come in, and we'll go scroll through, and just like, some of these people have been arrested for all these tattoos and stuff, oh my gosh, but anyway. So somebody asked me if it was fake, so I went, of course, I went all county crime, and I looked, and, no, it was fake, but I was told, it was drunkenness.
Yeah. Yeah,
And first offense or something,
yeah,
um,
I saw that. Well, I wonder if they just had a big
so
party.
there was a fight, and he was trying to break it up, and they all got arrested. I haven't talked to them, that's just hearsay, so I don't know. So,
Yeah, that is what they do now, they go in and take the whole crew.
So
right,
they-
and-
yeah, so they took everybody, so,
Wow.
yeah, that was hearsay, that was, that I heard, so I don't know.
Well, is Brian gonna be here tonight?
Don't know.
I talked to him on Facebook, Gainesville Times is gonna get in on that.
They are?
For him getting arrested because he was trying to break up fights, what he said.
Yeah.
And he had probably been drinking,
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt about it, they charged him with, with, being public drunkenness, so he probably, okay, I mean,
Well, it was his birthday party, I guess so.
Oh, it was his party?
It was his birthday party.
Oh, man.
and he got oh my God bless him.
I know. And there was some guys started getting into it, and he just got police
Listen.
trying to stop it.
I ain't judging by all means, I've been there, done that, and so I ain't judging by all means, so yeah, I wondered if he was gonna come.
Okay, I'm glad
And
you
see,
called me.
yeah, maybe.
I hope he does. I almost picked up the phone to call him, make sure he was okay, but figured, well, we let it die a little bit, and check on him.
Yeah, and there's another story I'll tell you too.
Well, that could happen to any of us, boy, I tell you what.
Yeah, especially breaking up the fight.
Yeah.
What they know he should do.
Yes, he'll be taken home.
But he must have been at a,
Well, it was Hall County that got him, so it wasn't in downtown Gainesville.
right?
I don't know, Gabby thought that I had made a comment, but it was a woman named Mary Ann.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what she was talking about, and she sent me a snapshot on her cell phone, I thought. But it was Georgia Gazette, and I'd never heard of them, and I thought, well, maybe that's one of those funny places that just does things.
Right.
And then I messaged Brian, I said, you need to look into this, they're posting that all over Facebook. And, he was at another birthday party that I think his family, he was about to go to that. And then he got back later was gonna back him up.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too, 'cause, well, you just don't know no more. Now, one time, one of the girls that worked for me, she had a real bad cold, and she took some NyQuil, and then she was the designated driver,
Yeah.
and they went to that bar and grill dance place over at Dawsonville,
Uh-huh.
and you know, the police sat out there in the parking lot waiting to see who comes out.
Yeah.
And her friends that she was DDing for was so drunk they could barely walk, but she blew because of NyQuil, and they put her in jail and let the other drunks drive. She had called, she was working for me, she had called me, and she said, you gotta bail me out.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
No, who's from there?
Must be Frank's.
He'll be right back, one moment, please.
There he is.
Hey, Joe. Joey, how you doing?
And now,
Doing all right?
okay.
How are you this evening?
Doing good, how about y'all?
Good, good.
Oh, man. Good.
Good to see you.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
All right, who's gonna take you home?
Well, I thought I was John, I mentioned, he brought me over, Mrs. Greer couldn't come, I get her, so John brought me here, so I hope he take me home, but,
Well, he will, or I will, or somebody will.
okay, thank you, I appreciate it, yeah.
You can coach them.
Yeah. Good time.
Thank you,
You're
ma'am.
welcome.
When did that big coffee shop go?
I don't know, it's not completed yet, 'cause I went by and I seen some work still being done, but I hope so, don't you?
And a whole lot of ways to get in there to park, park where they're supposed to go.
It's gonna be tight for those three businesses, I think.
And we had to start parking in Carter Alley and walk up from the back.
That'll be our exercising program every day.
Cause I heard it in a pastry too.
Yes. Mhm.
I saw Dave yesterday. And we were talking about the mark tomorrow. I said, I was talking to Dee and I said, she's asked me if I was gonna have a booth. I said, you don't have a booth already. I said, we ought to have us a fortune telling booth.
What'd he say?
He got a good idea. You know, Annie Horst is gonna bring her jewelry
It'll be beautiful.
and her pictures that she makes, her frames stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice.
Are you getting straightened out well?
Drug-free today.
That's good.
No, it's not. I'm feeling the way I am. So,
But you can't take too many of them things.
oh, tell me about it.
It'll go the other way.
Sandy, matter of fact, I could call her. She's already having a fit. She was on here.
Thank you, ma'am.
We'll have,
I've been having
next week.
So I go on the
pains
19th.
in my stomach
Thursday, I'm having an epidural done.
since
Wednesday, I see the.
12 o'clock at noon today.
Thursday, I see my.
You doing better, Debbie?
Huh?
I went to her.
Debbie's been sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not ready.
I went to her today.
See, I go for labs
I'm
and therapy.
thinking,
So let me tell you, between.
and so I'm meeting, but
We
still
have,
having,
unfortunately, pull out.
I may have
Yeah,
called
you
and
can
take
do
it to
this,
the
that,
hospital or
I mean, it's really sad.
Well, the ER was full the other night when they admitted Linda, they was laying in the hall. Having laying in the hall.
although I'm having pains in my stomach. I don't know why.
Yeah, change your stuff.
How's your ear coming, Garnet?
You got one little spot there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
Oh,
I don't do that, I just hold it on. But the minute they see the thing, they know that you got it, they butt the daylights out of you, hurry up, sit back.
oh, yeah.
I'm like, good grief.
I'm tired.
You're in good company around here. Hello, Mark.
Hey,
Joey's over here yawning already.
Passing it on. I know he was sitting in the dark a minute ago. He was probably trying to take a nap, but that didn't work. Then I turned the light on him, so that don't work. He don't get the nap.
Uh-huh.
Who was that? You?
Here in the dark.
He was sitting in the dark.
Reading my stuff.
In the dark?
And so I can't smell it.
I just thought he needed some light on the subject,
Sad when you get that weekend. Christie will say, "What's gonna do today?" I said, "I think I'm taking a nap."
Nap is always good.
Ooh, never announce your intentions, Joey. Somebody can always find something else that people.
Well, yeah, that's usually followed by, "Well, can you do
Uh-huh.
first?"
I'm not feeling too good.
Uh-oh.
Are you ready? You wanna go home?
They're ready to trip.
Yeah, I think I'll go home and call them, take me to the ER.
Uh-oh. We can do that. We can take you.
I've been having pains in my stomach.
That ain't good, bud.
you know, there's a lot of that stomach stuff going around.
Since 12 at noon.
Still the same, huh?
Let me get my car. I don't, anybody else, I'll take them real quick.
You just gonna pull it to the door,
Yeah, I'll
change it?
pull up to the door.
All right.
Get you well.
Huh?
Yeah,
Get you feeling better.
You want some water? You need some water?
No, I need to go home and call them, take me to the ER.
You're awful warm.
I'm having pains in
Well,
my
they can come
stomach.
here and pick you up.
Yeah, yeah, I can't
You
wait
don't
till
have to go
somebody-
home.
call somebody to come here.
No,
come here if you're gonna just go up to the ER.
Well, okay,
All right?
yeah, okay. No,
Or you can just take him.
Somebody will make a
I'll
call.
make it right now.
All right, all right, all right, we're gonna get you. What we need?
You wanna,
You know anything going on?
Yeah, I guess we should. Hate to,
okay, I'm calling.
So what do you think it is, your blood pressure?
well, they're gonna take him.
You don't know?
I don't know what it is.
Well,
Well, my friend.
feels a little warm.
Yeah, that's what they were saying, but I'm telling you, we ought to just take him by the time we wait on him. He does have a good one?
Want some water?
Send it in one.
No, I just feel weak.
I sent him in a bus.
Okay, all right. I think they're
His
calling.
pulse is really, really
Send
low.
it in one of them.
Yeah, go ahead and call them, and let's let the paramedics, okay?
I think somebody's already on the phone.
Main Street.
Main Street.
She's gonna find one.
We have,
You're gonna be okay, bud.
You're gonna be fine.
Just relax.
They'll check you out and give you a little something.
Just keep breathing.
Yeah,
6, 7, 8,
just hang in there.
2, 0, 5, 9. Julian Keller. We have,
Got your wallet with you, bud? Okay. You got your wallet with you?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What'd you leave in my truck? Your house key?
Yeah, I left the garage door open, you know. But,
You want me to keep it or what? Or you
yeah,
won't take it with you?
I'll take it with me.
He's inside, sitting down. This
Weak
week
pulse.
we're done now.
They got him on the phone with two.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
Yes, ma'am.
His pulse is really.
Yes, ma'am, his pulse is a little weak.
Ready.
Have you ever had an aneurysm, aortic aneurysm?
No.
Have you ever had an aneurysm, aortic aneurysm?
I don't really know, I just don't really know.
No, he has
No,
not.
he hasn't.
All right, bud.
Just come on.
Mordecai, can you tell me
You
what?
got a pocket put in there?
Let her, she's talking to the dispatcher.
You should have dispatched by now. Let's get more information.
Well, I'm having short pains across here.
Sharp pains across the
Yeah.
entire abdomen.
I've been having those since noon today.
Lower, and he's been having it since about noon.
I'm gonna get up.
You know her first name?
All right, buddy.
Is it
Relax.
Vera?
Ruby. No, ma'am, he's sitting
Ruby.
down here.
Yes, I got it.
Do you have any pain above your navel?
All around across here.
It's just
Yeah,
right
that's what
around
happened to me
across,
the other day.
just about below the
That's what
navel.
happened to me the other day. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
She must have, and I don't have it because I wrote it down.
Let me call somebody else who says they're supposed to be.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am, there's several of us out here. TNG Garner is sitting outside the
Garner?
door now.
Yeah.
Did I give you Ruby's new number?
I don't know if you did or not. You know what did?
No, I don't really know.
You don't know? I probably got it at the house. Jim will have it, I'm sure.
What?
Mordecai,
Have you got
somebody's
Rivers'
coming
new
out.
number?
Mordecai,
So
somebody's
we'll have
on
her
the
new
way
number.
from
Yeah,
here.
we shall
No,
call
yeah,
us later.
They're gonna check you out.
Take me right on out.
They
Darn it,
will.
we don't have her new number.
Oh, okay.
I told them that you were standing outside.
Yeah, I'll hear the sirens, yeah.
All right.
I'll put them in the right place, love, thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Um,
You wanna lay down, bud, you okay? You wanna lay down, you okay?
Oh, that's good, okay. I think.
I hope so.
well, she said don't do anything to eat or drink.
Yeah.
If he does, if he gets together, rub every week, lay on his side.
Well, they'll check it out here, looks like it.
Yeah,
See if there's anything, sugar.
there's so many bugs going around, there's no telling what you got. But it needs to leave, you
Turn
know.
my wife in on 9 o'clock, waiting in the pool. We finally got one, it's laying in bed, there, we're back there in the hall. We looked out and got,
You feel like you might need to grow up.
the next day, they put her in another bedroom, one more curtain, and we finally got it in.
Relax. Better? The money side. The money side.
You got a couple of
You got anything for the pillow for his hand?
No, I knew.
Don't catch it, bud.
We're getting you something for a pillow.
Paper towel work.
Yeah, roll.
Well, that's all right.
They should be here shortly.
They ought to, usually takes less than 15 minutes. Don't they have ambulances over at the fire department?
Yeah,
We got one already.
they should be here shortly.
My hand raised a little bit.
I got you. Why don't you let me just hold that? I got you. I got you, Commissioner Trigger.
Mordecai, you're too important for us to have you sick. Okay.
Oh, I wanted this bit.
Actually, it was pretty good.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
enjoyed a lot
I'm
of
gonna
it.
make sure you're fine.
It was good at first. It also, adjust, more or less, not necessarily change, but adjust. Is not conscious. He's improved, but shows me a lot of things that.
Officer number I was given, but she's
And I
not
found
here.
out that we have our city clerk situation,
Everybody's came from home.
She got a new number?
situations, but
Has she got a brand new number, Mr. Mordecai Ribbon?
Yeah, what have you got for her?
Dennis has got one, let me see what he got.
Yeah, let me see, I'll call her right now.
You know it by heart?
No, you don't.
No.
I got another number from another nurse.
I got several people. Oh, honey, you are, no,
Nope.
We're always got 6, 7, 8 numbers to talk to.
Yeah, 'cause I don't have it, it just went straight away.
yes,
It is hard to do.
yeah. Forget it, I'll try that. It's not a good situation. Dennis, it's nice to see you back.
Well, you know, it's good to be seen. How's that? God knows.
I went to the hospital, doctor.
Yeah, these would have been very helpful last, the other week.
Yeah. Well, you got them,
And then I.
so that's the good news.
Hey, it's Bill Smith. Nice to meet you. Thank you for being so nice.
So I gave my lunch at 12 o'clock and all of a sudden, I thought having certain things in my stomach, I couldn't even eat.
That'll teach you about the rock and roll.
That's your money back.
Here they come, here they come.
So,
Here they are. You got some help coming right in the door now. Oh,
Yeah, I wish.
They'll take care of you.
doing, Mordecai?
Front row.
Hello, my friend, how are you?
Duck's gonna go on through laying down, so they'll be okay.
Well, how you feeling? Okay.
Well, mostly, last night or this morning, that's about it. Of course I want to go, I want to go eat off.
Let's go get our bed.
They're coming back in, okay,
Or you
Mordecai?
can read them, cause we put a copy out there for you.
No, Dennis, if we don't have it, we'll
Sure we
move
do.
it.
Don't you think?
In my home.
I think we should,
Yeah.
but that's me.
Yeah. Bergin thinks it's
No,
Yep.
no, I have it in my address book in my home there. She has a new number in the back of my address book, there in my home.
Yes, Maryland has it.
I put the, Ruby Hill.
Yes, sir. We're done. Miss Maryland has it, so don't worry, okay? She's gonna call her, okay?
Does she have the new?
Get out front.
Oh, great.
It's gonna be a minute.
All good, we need to take care of Mordecai before anything else.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, I want to thank all of you for the lovely care you give me.
Sit way up there for me in that crack, okay? There you go.
All right, Mordecai, you feel better, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Run these under your arms right here, bud.
Now, you got to do number.
Yes, we'll get it. Yeah, I don't have it yet, but we'll get it. Maryland has it, I think.
Dock your face, making us start late for it,
Yeah. Thank all of you, appreciate that.
Mordecai, feel better.
Take care.
All right. Remember, cake on Friday.
I'm with you.
All right.
If I live that long.
You're gonna live that long.
We know nothing.
Be relaxing now.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
Oh, turn the air on, and it's gonna get too cold.
I am Debbie is.
All right, we're live.
Do you want me to turn the air on, or you just?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to work session for the month of March for the City of Lula. We had a late start today because we had a medical emergency for Mordecai. Everybody say prayer for him. He's on the hospital now, so we'll see what happens with him. We apologize for being late, and welcome everybody back in from the outside. As soon as they get back in, we'll get ready to start. That it? That it, everybody?
Looks like it.
Okay. I want to thank y'all for coming. And Mordecai's on the way to the hospital. We're praying for him. Y'all do too. We're going to open with a pledge, with an invocation and a pledge to get the meeting started. Dear Lord, thank you for the blessings of the day. Pray for Mordecai. Watch over his health. Give us strength, wisdom, and courage to make the proper decision for the City of Lula. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Thank y'all. It's time for citizens' comments, but we have rules in place for that. Here they are. The time for citizen and public comments will be made available at the beginning and ending of each city of little work session and council meeting. Comments can be made by anyone, including business owners and businesses are located within the city limits. Comments will not be limited to any topic. Comments must be directed to the mayor and the council. Language must remain civil, and the speaker should avoid personal contacts on the council or staff. The speakers should state their name and address. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. A timer will be set, and then in 3 minutes, the speaker will be asked to bring their comment to a close. If there's something else to be said, the opportunity will be made available at the next session of citizen comments. Anybody got anything you want to say? There'll be another chance at the end of the meeting to say it too, so in case something comes up. All right. Tonight we have our new assistant city manager here, Mr. Frank Etheridge. Welcome, Frank.
Stand up.
Speech.
Well, like Dennis said, I've been here 7 days now, so I look forward to this Friday when my commute gets a lot shorter. This hour and 50 minutes each way has gotten long, but we'll be staying in Cleveland and hopefully close on our house on the 3rd of April. So look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Welcome in.
Welcome.
Okay. Everybody got a copy of the minutes? If you see any changes to them, we'll vote on them next week and be sure that Tandy knows if they need to change them. It's for 2 February meetings. Yep. Okay. Yard of the month. This month is standard yard of the month, and next month's standard yard of the month. So everybody got to pick the ones that look good. But Bergin and Lula is May and June.
Right.
We'll announce that in June of both months.
Yeah, we'll begin to play that up in April for
Yeah.
May and
Yeah.
June, and then, it usually commences with railroad days.
Yeah. So there's a $100 credit for the water bill on both of those months. So if I remember right, am I
You're
right?
correct.
Okay. All right. Time now for Dennis Bergin show.
So I haven't
Been a
done
long-
this in
been a
a
long
while, so
time.
I hope everybody enjoys it. So let's do bank balances first. Want to?
I like
Let
that
me get
idea.
this up here. So let's move this screen over. So the good news is that your bank balances continue to increase. Everybody, we gave you a copy of them up front. Surprisingly, Mr. Etheridge, you'll learn this. So when we estimated Splosh some years ago, when it first came up, we were wrong. And our friends at Georgia Tech had given us what they projected, and we have surpassed that projection. Now we're running right around 8%, so we continue to enjoy a good economy, and we're thrilled with that. There's not anything of any real significance that you're going to see in the bank balances other than we've been paying our bills more so than anything else. More importantly, we talk about P&Ls, and we've got 9 different accounts, and we talk about the general fund as well as the water and sewer fund initially. So we work with the fiscal year July 1 to December 31st, and we are actually 36 weeks into the fiscal year, so we're marching down into the 3rd and 4th quarter, which is when we experience some of the improvements and some, unfortunately, some of the costs we incur. The good news is we're going to talk about some of the improvements. So an example would be on our general fund right now, where we should be at 69.12. We're actually running about 31.46, which is a good news, and the reason is because we just received our franchise fee check from Georgia Power for $125,000, so yeehaw. So we got that. Actually, it's not posted yet. I guess we deposit this week, so we'll be good on that. Again, more importantly, where we do revenue, it's also important how much money you spend. So year to date, we're at $140,000 on our revenues, and our expenditures at $1,072,000. So we have a positive cash flow right now of about $67,000. On our water and sewer, it's similar to that, although, you know, we're dependent on what the water revenue and the sewer revenue is. Again, where we ought to be at about 31% remaining. Good news is we're about 34%, so we're kind of ahead of the game on that. Water and sewer revenue are the ones we pay attention to, and water is ahead of the equation, where sewer is a little behind at 28% remaining. So same thing, so it's all about expenditures. So the good news is where we have revenue right now at $690,000. We have expenditures of $578,000, which would leave us a positive cash flow of about $112,000. So combined between the two funds, we have a positive cash flow of $179,000. So we're, you know, could things be better? Yes. Are we happy with the way they are? Yes, because we're meeting most of our projections, and we've experienced some more costs that we didn't anticipate, but yet we're coming into those. So the audit status, so, you know, we brought in Rosemary. Thank you for bringing her in. It's a matter of a trial balance resolution, and the biggest problem we're having right now is with our auditor being able to give us the attention and the time that it is to make sure the information we're sending to him is satisfactory, and that doesn't appear that it's going to happen this week. So we'll just continue to work diligently at it, but we've got to make him happy first. And a little frustrated that he's, you know, it's his busy time of the year, but we haven't been able to get a little bit more of his time so we can move forward with this. Other than that, we'll talk about water and sewer unless anybody's got any questions on finance. Garnet said he'd cover anything we're short of. Right, Garnet?
Let's wait till another week.
Okay. So on water and sewer current conditions, you know, we're blessed in that the folks who do it day in and day out, so we're very fortunate. If y'all hadn't noticed, we've had a lot of rain. Lord, have we had a lot of rain. I think last week we ended up with about 4.5 inches of rain, and we have some of our old sewer system has infiltration, and so we do a good job of treating that as that comes in as well. Wanted to talk about well exploration. There's a couple of things that are a challenge to us right now. Let's talk about Moss Family Farms for a second. Let me see if I can grab a folder on that. So the Moss Family Farms, let's go from here, had proposed a 13-page contract that suggested, as y'all know, my joke, but it wasn't a joke, was the city of Lula shall, it said way too many times. So with y'all's permission, what we would do with our friends at Moss Family Farms is, I've narrowed this down to 3 pages. I think, Joey, you may have seen that, where basically we would create an escrow account for the initial investment that would do the test wells. They would pledge all those dollars. We would just notify them as we receive the engineering and the well testing cost until that's depleted, and then we would, if there's any increases that we see, we'd notify them in advance of any more work being done. But it's very uncomfortable for us to put ourselves in a position where we would be liable for any of that cost for their development. So that, if you go back to what our ordinance says, it says the obligation is that of the developer. Well, at the same time, they've got to make our engineer and our geologist happy. So as uncomfortable as I am about us experiencing some of those costs, because we would be billed through engineering and billed through our geologists, as long as we have an escrow account, and this is as basic as it would say, we'd identify the amount of escrow. They'd either pledge it before we went forward or not. Secondly, the second page says how we obtain, we draw down from the escrow account, and the third is the finalization. What they have asked, and Joey and I have had this discussion, is they would like the opportunity in the original contract which I did not find acceptable, that they would be credited back against their tap fees for both water and sewer. And those terms, I would think, would not serve the best interest of the council or the community. In the past, the developer experiences that cost. What I did suggest, and this is actually what I need from the council, we propose that they would generate at least 100 gallons a minute for what they proposed in their development. If they were to exceed that amount, that we would be open to a conversation to purchase that excess. Does that make sense? At a cost that would be suitable to the council. So, you know, again, they carry the risk. We would probably be well served if they exceeded the 100 gallons a minute. And I'm not talking about if they had 106 gallons a minute. We don't want to purchase the additional 6 gallons a minute. I'm talking about a sizable amount. And it's feasible. I mean, you know, we've got wells around here that are produced as much as 200 gallons a minute. So then the council might, depending on what y'all's position is, might be open to additional capacity that then we could give them some sort of credit. But the idea that we would go dollar for dollar wouldn't be something that I would recommend. It would be more in line to where they're building the infrastructure, the interior infrastructure, the well development. I would expect that, and not knowing everything we know right now, when I say that, I back up for a minute. We drill a test well, we get an analysis of that well. That analysis will tell us not only the yield that it generates, but also whether or not it has to be filtered. And if it has to be filtered, that drives the cost up for the final well. Well, we don't want to experience any cost of that. That would be back on developer. So anything that would exceed overall cost and overall gallons per minute, we could then begin to have some discussion. You would be well served to say that on the front end, not on the rear end. So some friends of mine in Flowery Branch, that's not me, that's all I can say. Some friends of mine in Flowery Branch had a well location, and they had a gentleman who drilled the well, and it ended up being a boomer, 700 gallons a minute. So when they went back to negotiate the city buying the well from them, guess what happened to the price? So, you know, I think that you would probably be well served. We understand cost per gallon, probably better than most, but I would think that, you know, $2 a gallon over a 24-hour period of time doesn't sound like a lot over a 30-day span. Is probably very reasonable. It's not going to come close to what experience and cost they've had, but it would be reasonable for us, you know, to offer credit in that. So what I would like to do is at this point, is give them a draft that might suggest we leave that portion blank and try to negotiate, rather than this document I have that's, you know, a ridiculous, I think 16 pages long. So what are y'all's thoughts? So just remember, the obligation remains theirs.
I got a question. How much do we figure a household uses a day? 320 gallons?
No, we set aside 255 gallons a day. So, and that's number is inflated mainly because we have, well, there's two reasons for it. One, that's a recommendation by EPD, but the other is we have to have reserve capacity. So the average usage of new construction is really around 140 gallons a day. But that's not, when we're figuring like a water storage and that sort of thing, we're using those higher figures so you never get in trouble. That's a good question. Tony, you were grabbing a hold of that microphone.
Yeah, I just wanted to identify our our current ordinance, and we don't want to change the obligation of the developer, but was it to provide that amount in addition, like the 250 gallons per day for all houses up front that were in the plan, or is it in stages?
So we would, they couldn't, y'all have already approved the number of homes, so it would be for the total amount. So they couldn't do it by phases. In other words, I would, suggest that you don't permit anything until they've satisfied and that obligation, and that's the way the ordinance that we passed reads as well.
Yeah, the well's not gonna increase when the houses increase. The well's gonna produce the same amount.
Exactly. I just didn't know if they wanted to say, because I know that they had 3 phases in their project, and they may have said, we have tapped this particular new well, and it provides us enough to go ahead and move forward with, perhaps maybe project A rather than B and C.
So the way this contract reads right now, we've proposed and they've identified 2 well site locations. And this is actually a cost saving to them. If you put the rigs online or in service on their property, and they were to drill the first well and it was a boomer, then there's no necessity in drilling the second well. But for a cost saving standpoint, if they move that rig from the first location, let's say they were produced 75 gallons a minute in the first location, and that wasn't sufficient to carry the 100-gallon demand, they could easily move that equipment across the property and save them a few dollars in setup alone. So, and that, we'll do the same thing here. We won't experience, and they won't experience any cost that hasn't been billed. So.
Yeah, thank you.
So if we do the escrow and we pull from it and we need more money, then we go back and we don't go further till that. But if there's money left over, that money goes back to them. Is that how that works?
Correct. So
Okay.
we have a exhibit that we would use, and that exhibit identifies right now cost of $420,000 per well. And, we think it can come in less than that, but at the same time, we'll have a clause in there that will say they'll be notified. So we already have one of the things that they proposed, and y'all need to know as well. They obviously want to go out and get the best or low bid price. And the challenge that we have with that, this is a specialty, and what we have learned over the last couple of years, as we've been exploring wells as well, because it is a specialty, you only have so many well drillers that you can acquire. Plus, those well drillers have to be able to work with your geologist, and they have to be able to work with our engineering. So, like I said to them when we were discussing this last week, I said, look, they're anxious to get this started. Put it out for bid, you're 6 months out, and then you might find your well drillers another 3 to 6 months before he can come in there. We've actually gotten 2 competitive bids, which are estimates, so much charge per foot drilled, and the setup fees, all those things we've already done. And we had 2 different bidders, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the difference between them 2, surprisingly, was about $85,000. So that didn't sound all that competitive. Well, when I walked them through that, they understood, because they're anxious to get this going as well, that, maybe a competitive bill or bid isn't always the best option. And in this particular case, time is money. If they can afford to wait, we can certainly go the competitive bid route. But my worry would be is that you might get some well drillers from South Georgia that might, and that's not disrespect to South Georgia, where they got to pull their rigs all the way up here, and that might delay them being able to drill anytime sooner. So these wells, you can anticipate that will be at least 400 foot deep. So a lot of times, and you have to remember the casing size is 6 to 8 inches, so it's not everybody that's out there in the marketplace that has that type of equipment available, put it that way. and this is what most would consider a commercial well, and that's somewhat true, but, you know, it's we have additional requirements that are expected of us because it would be a municipal well. So I guess the question back to the council is, first and foremost, Joey, I don't think you'd recommend the 16 pages that they proposed at this point, have you, would you?
No.
Good, because I already told them that we wouldn't have a share in that. So the question is, can we dummy that down? And Joey had suggested that we go back and that they propose you know, their own development standard that we could set aside. And he's, you know, I was somewhat critical of the way this was written, and he said, what did you expect? We're gonna write it to our benefit. So he said, why not, don't y'all take a shot at what might be acceptable to y'all? And I do think it's reasonable for us. The only thing, you know, we don't wanna expose ourselves to any cost, but I do think it's reasonable if they were to get a robust well that we might wanna acquire some of that capacity from that well.
So would we do the amount for 840,000 to escrow? Is that what you would?
So originally, what I would do is I would probably have them sit around somewhere around 200,000, because that would allow us to do the test wells on well 1, and then immediately fund that for when they start on well 2.
And then they would just add to it
Right.
as it went.
Right. And then, see, remember, so that, understand how this works. So let's say you get a production well, and you want a production well nowadays that probably needs to be above 50 gallons a minute. And the reason is because you experience some cost in your capital component. So let's say they do that and they've got one in. So then you go and you move the equipment and you drill the next well location. And both those are successful. Then to actually build the well that satisfies EPD, that meets the municipal standards that they require, that's where your real expense comes in, where your well building comes in, your size pumping comes in, and I'd mentioned earlier the opportunity for filtration that may or may not be required. And in this area, there's two things that we look for. One is iron and manganese. Those are two items that would generally, if we find a well that has a lot of production in iron or manganese, then we filter that out. But we have 3 wells right now that are operating that thank goodness, let's pray that this happens too. But anyway, they're as pure as the water that comes out of the ground. I mean, we don't have to filter a thing out of them. All we do is chlorinate them and go from there. Of course, we test them every day. But that would be, their exposure, I think, would stop at about 420,000 for the test wells if they did both. Joey, you got any thoughts?
Well, we'll bring the agreement to you once we finish that up, so you'd have to approve the specifics of the agreement, but the closest I can tell council is when it comes in and has a subdivision and they put in a road, they build the road and then we inspect it, and if you accept it, then it's a public road. It's the same with this system, and that's what they were trying to negotiate was, well, if we're gonna pay all the costs and then turn it over to the city, they wanted to recoup some of their cost of developing the system that just serves that subdivision. And if it was gonna serve, if they were gonna build something that would serve off-site, then that is done with development fee agreements, but what they're proposing would just serve this site. So we'll get the terms put together, based upon Dennis's comments to them with Brian's input. And I think when Dennis responded to them with my comments to Dennis, I think the response was that they knew they shouldn't have gotten the lawyers involved.
That's exactly, I teased them, I said, mine's 3 pages and you can add all the paragraphs you want. But and the one thing that did concern me was they were trying to recoup dollar for dollar. And there's no way that we should experience that. You know, that's their cost of development. And, you know, anything above and beyond that's probably reasonable for the council to give consideration to.
So would, in the contract, would we put in if it exceeds the dollar amount that we would be willing? That
That'd
way
be the
that they
third
can't
page.
go,
Oh, yeah, it would give
Okay.
you an option, and I would suggest you, like I said, that you find a dollar amount that's comfortable, we'll give you a variable there that you can play with, and then let's see if we can't get this done, because that's the same thing time is of the essence. What other questions might y'all have with that regards? Good?
You got anything else on Cedar Creek, or they're not part of Long, are they?
Yeah, we'll see. So this takes care of their 2 wells. Just to let you know, Cedar Creek, which is over on Belton Bridge, has supposedly identified 3 other well locations. I got an email on that today finally. So we need to get those pre-approved by EPD for those locations before we can even begin to have that conversation, which it's good that we're laying down the legwork for what we would do with Moss Farms, because I would suggest whatever we do with Moss Farms ought to be what we do for Cedar Creek down the road. And then we've identified 2 well locations, as you know, for the city, and that's independent of what the developers are doing. So I think that'll mature over the next 30 days, and we can come back with y'all with pricing on that. And it'll be similar to what we're proposing on, obviously, with Moss Farms, because I don't see that number changing that much. Water tank pending issues. So you know we recently had the water tank painted and what have you, and we found some defects in the paint application. And we met last week, Frank and I did, with Brian Rent, and they had flown a drone around it and identified apparently in their last application of paint, I think they said, Frank, that they didn't match the colors very well. Well, whether they match the colors very well or not, we're not content with what. So we've asked them to come back with a proposal of when that'll be resolved. So Joey, I'm a little concerned about that. I'll probably share that with you. But I did say we want to get something on paper. Those things had a tendency to start growing hair. So mail billing issues, postal service. I'm going to stop and let the mayor, I'm just kidding. So if y'all aren't aware of it, and I know you are, so we have had an ongoing problem with the post office. And it hasn't been just for the last couple of months. It's probably been for the last 8 months. And the situation is we drop our billing off, and y'all may or may not know this, I'll repeat myself real quick. So we have to take it to Gainesville of all places, and then Gainesville now sends it to Duluth. Is that right?
They're in the process of closing Duluth down, it's going down to Palmetto.
Oh, Palmetto. So anyway, then that's sorted and then comes back to the Lula post office. And that has not worked well for years. It hasn't worked well, and we've moaned and groaned about it. When the last 8 months, it has gotten to be unbearable. The example that we give you is this. A week and a half ago, Tangi, is that right?
February 29th.
So February 29th, we got how many bills?
1,300.
Came in? How many did you get?
You're talking about the one that came back to, okay.
Yep.
That was March 1st. 180 came in March 1st.
Came in, and those were a month past due. So
Yes.
we had all these people show up last week with their bill in their
Told me
hand.
one of them.
And an example, and their bill in their hand, and they paid their bill, only to find out, well, that was from the previous month. And I don't think we've gotten any bills.
No.
So we mail everything, just to let you know, on the 1st of every month.
The last day of the month.
Yeah, so the problem has been, the worst is going to be the first that they'll ever see it. But the problem that we've had is, now is, we don't even have any current bills in the system. So, how do you resolve this? And I told the girls last week, I think Channel 2 ran a story on 11 o'clock news that I didn't get to see, was complaining about another community, that they're experiencing the same thing. You know, they're not getting their bills and what have you. And the mayor is not the solution. He has no more authority. Gainesville is not the resolution, I guess. Our postmaster here, all we can do is fill his ears up. But you know, I don't know. I think we do know what the resolution is, and we've already talked about it. It's how we do online billing. But that's not probably going to take care of everything. Juliet called today. Your turn. Take over.
I called today to see if it was possible that we could get the utilities committee together to consider waiving the penalty fee for this month.
So I told Juliet that unfortunately, because we've had so many come in and we know how screwed up it is, that we're already waiving those. I mean, we can't justify it. That's what it boils down to. We can't justify we're going to charge you a late fee and you still haven't gotten your bill, and the bills you did get were a month overdue. So, you know, I don't know how you know, it's almost impossible. Just to let you know, we have almost, when we keep track of this sort of stuff. So the number of people that don't pay their bills by the 15th is, as a rule, 180 people. And so this month, if you're not getting a bill, I mean, there's no telling how high that number could go. And it is very frustrating for, you know, for our customers as well as for us. And, you know, we want to do what's right by them. So y'all's thoughts on that, and then we can talk about what opportunity might be available immediately to us.
I know we had discussed, you know, I know individual conversations that I've had with others on council, including the mayor, other alternatives to the current billing platform that we're using. And that can be anywhere from, you know, the card stock that we're using, where these items might get caught or destroyed in mail processing. But the situation that we're seeing here, that wouldn't help. These things are disappearing. You know, it's also been brought up that, you know, perhaps maybe we find another, like a printer mailer scenario where they actually print paper bills, put them in envelopes that they make. You know, it's a bulk mail, you know, solution that puts it in. You know, when you have an envelope, you obviously have, you know, the bill inside plus at least two, you know, the front and back of the envelope. So now you're 3 levels deep on thickness to where those items wouldn't get caught. But again, that wouldn't necessarily solve missing mail.
So in our discussions with the post office, that wouldn't come with a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, Joe, you might want to jump in on that. If they're not getting the mail, that's, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
who knows?
We're not getting back. We don't know where's that. We don't know.
Yeah, I think that, you know, certainly entertaining the idea, as you mentioned before, Dennis, allowing for 1, auto pay, and 2, you know, online payments as another option as well. It doesn't solve it for everybody, but it does give people the option to where they wouldn't necessarily be, you know, susceptible to the mail not coming through. But certainly it's something that we need to address as best we can from a city's perspective.
Right. So if we stay on this first one, are y'all cool with us not charging the late fees this month?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That goes without saying.
No
At
late
this
fee.
point, this is why we hired Frank.
To take the heat, to take the heat.
I'm just teasing. So here's the good news. So we have been exploring what opportunities might be out there for online billing and auto pay. And, I mean, you know, the good news, I think, is first and foremost is, and we've had this discussion, we've got to tie whatever utility billing in with our financial software. And so we've explored that, and that's doable. Probably the best news is that in talking with Harris, or you'll hear us talk about them at CSI, that they have really expanded what they can do in that regard. So we could do online and auto pay options available to us, and we need to meet with the utility committee and probably finance to talk about that, because you're gonna, you know, experience a one-time cost in setting that up. But, you know, it would allow, here's the problem that we have. You know, it's the same problem. If we had that tomorrow, you're still gonna have a method that the customer gets the bill. They have the option of doing online, but we can't make them do all online. I think all your new customers would probably welcome it. I think the majority of our customers would welcome the opportunity, but you still have to have a method, and they can send out bills for you as well, but you know, they've encountered the same challenges that we're talking about here. So, you know, when we've looked at this in the past about doing online pay and being able to look at your bill online and that sort of thing, it was cost preventive in that what it cost per customer. And at some point in time, you know, you can continue to use that as an excuse, as I just did, or you can say, we're going to do this one time, and that's where you're going to experience the bulk of the cost. You are going to have an annual cost for that portion of programming. So, give you an example, if you told us, and I'd want everybody to explore it a little bit more, but that we could do this through Harris financial software, the cost is going to be $10,000 for year one. It's going to be about $7,000 for every year thereon. The good news is that expands with your system. So, but at the end of the day, I think that's probably, well, you know, it's for everybody. I mean, how many bills do we get in my household that we deal with online? You know, and I don't want, matter of fact, I'm thrilled that we were finally able to get out from underneath waiting for the bill from Georgia Power. And so now we can do all that online as well. And I gotta imagine the convenience is gonna be there for everybody, but at the same time, you know, you can't force everybody's hand, so you have to have an alternative.
Let's say that the majority goes on to the online billing, and we have, I don't know, I'm throwing numbers out, we have 40, 50 people that don't. Is the possibility of us stuffing an envelope and dropping it off at Lula, can that happen, or does it still have to go to Gainesville?
I would argue with if we had first class mail, we ought to be able to drop it in the box and they deliver.
That's what I'm saying.
First class
Can we not do that?
No problem.
Put an envelope,
If we
drop it at Lula,
Yeah.
it goes out in Lula.
If we put a first class stamp on ours now, we can drop it in Lula. We got a bulk rate permit, that's our problem.
Right.
They got us tied into a bulk rate permit, and we got to figure out how to get up under that.
Well, and there is options available, and we should, you know, the
That's
example I'd
something-
give y'all is,
The employees don't want to
so
cover it.
there's a discount if you allow us to do online billing.
Right.
You know, if you don't, then there's an upcharge that you would experience. That's the other way to address that, so,
Right.
you know, and that, you know, that way you're being fair to everybody, but, you know, obviously, either way, we're gonna experience some additional cost, and I think that's a matter of you begin to absorb that in your billing. But, you know, again, I'm most comfortable, we talked with our utility software and the experience that they've had, so Delta Neptune, that's what we're talking about in the meters we use. So they've had a ton of experience with a lot of different providers and what have you. And what they've learned is if you can do it in-house with your programming, you're always gonna be better off. Rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, bring in another third party. And Tony, you might be able to comment on that. It can become challenging how the programs communicate is what I would try to say. You know, and they purposely don't make it easy on each other. That much is probably a given.
Our late notices get hand stamped here, first class stamp, get dropped to the post office here, and get, but
Yeah, we never get those back.
I got one back the other day.
Yeah, but not like
I
we
meant,
get
I meant to bring it in. It was mailed, the bill, late was mailed November 16th. Oh, you showed it, that's right, you showed it to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
there
one
was-
that we put in your box.
And then they got back to the post office here, post office were February 12th, and then March 6th, they finally got delivered to the wrong address on County Line Road. Now,
There's like 300 of those compared to almost 1,400.
Right,
those
right,
that go out. There's a difference.
Do we know what our bulk mail discounted rate is
40
per
cents.
item?
40 cents a piece,
And what is our
1,346.
quantity of items mailed? So what is our cost if we just move to first class stamps?
1361 is how many bills we have.
Well, you know, Tony gives a good example, but I mean, you know,
Yeah,
it's, you know what you need to know is, the way we used to do it is, we sorted it by route here.
Right.
We took it to the Lula post office. We made it easy on them. If we dropped it in the box this
we
afternoon,
did.
they were delivering it the next day.
day.
And they won't let us do that anymore. It's just the craziest thing you've ever seen. But we are dealing with the subsidy of the federal government, so.
Of course, that's when the first class postage was 40 cents too, so first class regular
Right.
postage.
That was like, yeah, that was back some time ago. So back to Tony's idea, we could afford to pay for it, for all the aggravation
I
we're
didn't know
suffering
how much
right
it's
now.
gonna cost.
Oh, yeah, and
53
53.
per postcards.
Okay. You can tell how much stamping I do.
Me too.
I mean, isn't that less than? I mean, it's certainly less than $4,000 just in increased postage
Yep.
on the way out. I mean, matter of fact, it's probably less. I was just adding it up at like 21 cents additional, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it's close. So we're looking at just keeping it in Lula at 3,500 a year.
And again, same thing, we wanna, whatever y'all propose to do that would be acceptable, is we wanna do something that serves us in the long term. And we know online billing is the way to go in the long term. So then it's a matter of how you put that together is, you know, do we stack this on top of that? Do we discount this because of that? You know, currently if a customer pays online, they pay a $5 convenience fee. $4 of that goes for them post online. So, you know, we don't enjoy the $4 or anything like that. So I think we could do that probably a lot more conservative if we could convert everybody over. Or at least incentivize it for them to convert over.
But people don't like to give us their email addresses either.
No.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're gonna have, I mean, I feel like Dennis.
And we don't want their email address.
Well, I mean, if they're going, if we need.
They
to
can
send
register
it out.
online.
Okay.
Actually, I can send y'all, I was gonna do this anyway, send you the link and it's pretty simple.
Encore.
But we can have a choice, we can go in and register their customer number.
Okay.
They have a choice to go in, putting their name in, and we've given them their customer number. And then from that point, that's when they enter their email and everything else. So we're completely out
So
of
we
it.
didn't need, yeah.
Yep. But this way they can pull up their bill, they can see what they paid. There's some options that, you know, we don't charge taxes. Stop. We don't charge property taxes. But those are all options that are available in that type of system as well. Business license, all those things, permitting,
Right.
all that could be included, and it's no additional charge. So that could be all back to the customer.
A lot to think about, guys.
So we need, and what I would like to do is I'd like to send the utility committee what we have from Harris that has a link that you can click on and gives you a simplified way on showing how it would work. The pricing, it will be there as well. And then, you know, let's give some thought to what y'all think would serve best. You know, clearly what we're doing now doesn't work. So we gotta find a solution. And I think what serves us. So let's go back to Frank. So Frank, what did you decide?
I agree, it is a nationwide problem, it's not here in Porterdale, we bought it every day, even the mail that went to the post office box didn't always get delivered. So I never left the post office, but we did bulk, and we did letter size versus card stock. The city of Oxford, where my wife works at, is doing, like you said, Tony, is they send out to a bulk
Mailer.
set up, but they have the same issues we do, so
Yeah.
it's not a us issue, it's.
Yeah, the irony is where we deliver our mail to Gainesville, they only take bulk mail there, and you'll go out front and there'll be bins and bins and bins. And they'll tell you, they're not the problem. From there it's sorted and it depends on, I guess, where its destination is, whether it's South Georgia, or whether or not it's a metropolitan area, but anyway. Well, let's send y'all what we have. The next item, Tangi said, we talked about Delta. Neptune, we've brought this up before. We've got a software update. They wanted to do it back in 2000. This is one of those deals where we've actually had this discussion with everybody except Juliet, so this is news to you. So we use Neptune meters, which are supplied by Delta, and they're radio reads. So we're in our 4th generation of what we call radio reads. So soon to be the 5th generation. So what that does is that little water meter, this bad boy right here. See, we've had this discussion before. You can update this, and next thing you know, it can do more and more. It can read itself, it can tell you when you have a leak, all those different type of things. Well, the other thing is that it's proprietary. So this meter, I forget who this is made, this isn't a Neptune. Somebody else wanted to sell it to us. But anyway, this is Texel. So anyway, it's proprietary. So once you're with Neptune meters, you're stuck with Neptune meters. So they got you. And then they've got their programming that reads this and transfers the downloads the information of usage and converts it, and that's all wonderful. So we've had radio reads now for approaching 20 years, and they continue to be upgraded and upgraded, and with that, so do our cost. So up until this point, in the current software we're on right now, it's hard loaded onto our server here. They're going to cloud service, so everything will be done in the cloud, which, I think I've said this before, you would think that would save us all money because it's on the cloud. They can update their programming overnight and we'll never know the difference. Well, somehow somebody didn't communicate that with the people that are doing the invoicing, because inevitably you're looking about to change this over about $7,000. They proposed more than that. I don't see the benefit of it. And we can, same thing, we can sit down with the utility committee. But time is running out. They originally wanted to start this off in 2000. They couldn't get it off the ground. They were having some issues. Then COVID hit and killed everything in 2021, 2022. So they're just now, they've apparently resolved all the problems, because we've talked to their clients, same people that are doing business just like us, to make sure we're not inheriting a nightmare. But time is running out, so we're going to have to schedule when we can make the conversion. I would suggest that our fiscal year is July 1, that would be our goal, that we incorporate that in this year's budget. We move those numbers across the full year to absorb some of that, and that we have a letter that I guess you sent them back in December. So, and they're not going to give us that much time, but trust me, they'll give us that much time. We just need to put them on notice.
Is Delta is the same company that we did purchase the belt clip reader?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all that goes away, just to let you know.
So that we won't need to do that anymore.
Well, now you work off an iPad, which is the real world, and then so you can, we won't have to have the belt clip reader. But one of the things they do have, which again we can sit down and talk about, so it's a matter of collecting the data. When we turn our what we call handhelds right now, the handhelds will go away in essence, and you'll have a bulk reader that in the handhelds we can turn them on, and I can start reading meters that'll pick up from the radio waves alone. Well, their new software and their availability of their reader now, you can put that in the truck and you can just run from one end of the city down to the other. So there will be some savings. When I first came here, it took us 3.5 days to read meters. Now, we're usually done by 1 o'clock that day, and we do rereads the next day. And the rereads take us just as long as reading 1,300 customers, to be honest with you, because that means that something didn't read and we had to get out of the truck and go look at it. But, to answer your question, there's some savings in our amount of man hours that we're gonna have. But other than that, they got you, because it is proprietary, and they're gonna hold you hostage, which we're open to the discussion. Do we change our users? My friends at, in Gainesville, as an example, they have, I'm gonna say this wrong, let's just say they have 40,000 customers. To change out their system at $300 a piece, do the math. You can see how it becomes a challenge for them, or they operate two systems until they can make the complete conversion. For us, you got 1,400 customers. Today is the day to make the change, but whoever you sign on with, it's gonna be proprietary, and there's your challenge. So we don't have a problem with the meters that we have. Matter of fact, the advancement that they're making, the only thing that annoys me is, see that little blue thing in there? That's a D battery. And that D battery, when they showed us these 10 years ago, they said it will last 10 years. Well, 20 years later, that D battery lasts 10 years. And so we have to change out. We started getting failures somewhere after 10 years. And you would think that it's not to their advantage to make this better, is what I'm trying to say to you. But that's not just Delta, it's everybody out there that has them. But you would think that we've come a long ways. They could pull a whole lot more data than they ever did 20 years ago out of these things. But the problem is, like I said, there's no way of replacing that D battery, and that's exactly what that is that sits in there. And they've come a long way in what they have been able to do, but it's not everything we wish it would.
Dennis, I have a question. How many platforms do we have out there? Are all of our meters now the same, or what is the current status of that?
So we change them out as they fail. That's what we're doing now. So I can get you a close number on it, pretty close to it. But we still have some customers that are on. Well, they're not in radio. Well, they are radio reads, but they're the old system, and so those read a little bit different. What we call, and then we have the majority of them are handhelds that we can just drive by and pull them up.
And do we currently have the meters that are out there now? Like you said, that we replace them with the new ones. Do we have additional meters on hand? Because I know that has been a problem in the past, getting the quantity of meters. I know we had supply chain issues before.
You've always let me buy in advance, and so fortunately we've avoided the problem. That's what we had Banks County as an example. If you remember back during COVID, Gainesville ran into the same problem. Nobody could get any meters. Well, for once we did the right thing. We bought meters outside of that. I actually did an inventory last week on the meters, because our friends at Magnolia Station are soon to start pulling our meters down. So we have an abundance of meters right now. An abundance is about 100. So we change out as many as 10 meters a month. And then new construction, we gauge that. That's why we were doing inventory last week. We think they'll pull down. Matter of fact, when I was talking about the numbers for the P&L underwater and sewer, that's the one area we're behind on, but yet they're just waiting on us to okay the new sewer lines, and they're going to pull 10 meters down immediately. And guess what? You're back to what we budgeted. So that'll be a matter of weeks, not months. Matter of fact, they'd like the meters tomorrow. If they could get them, we just won't release them. So that's a challenge. Another thing we all got to get together and scratch our heads on.
So our action item would be to decide, are we moving forward with the update and committing?
Right.
Rather than try to find another proprietary system.
So we've looked at it.
Yeah.
We've looked at, this is a good example of one. So I like a lot of things that are about this. This is all text driven. So we never had to read, do what we're doing right now. This is kind of cool. It sends a text signal. It's all digitalized. It pulls it once every 24 hours. It's awesome. That's $87 more than what we're paying for right now.
Yeah, and is the Neptune the same model that we discussed previously that allowed customers to perhaps see, or us to eventually provide data?
So that'll be
where
the
they could
fifth
see?
generation, so we're not there, but yes. That's what we're all, if we don't change software, that'll never allow us to go there, because they can't, you know, they won't, well, first, they're not gonna support it, that's their problem.
Right.
But yes, that's the next generation of meters, and that will be as you change them out.
Yeah, and the customer would be able to see, look at their utilization,
Right.
you know, trends.
Yep. I don't
leaks.
wanna promise anything, because it's a matter of whether or not you got a new meter or not.
Right.
If you got the old meter, we can't afford to go spend $325, because there's nothing wrong with the meter you have. So yes, that's the answer to that is, and eventually, I mean, like this meter I'm holding in my hand, the coolest thing about this is, we wanna turn the water customer on. We can actually, can't do it with these new meters, but in the future, we can just put it in the customer number into the computer and say, turn it on, and it'll send a signal, and in 24 hours, the water will be turned on. Just the opposite to that too. You want to turn it off, we can send a signal and say, turn it off. So, you know, all those things you could argue are manpower savings, but reality is you want to make it convenient for the customer.
Let's say that we decide to go with another company, do we have to change meters out to do
Yeah.
that? So we'd have to change
So what you would
everybody's
do is
meter?
what I described Gainesville doing it, and they
Okay.
have toyed with it.
Alright.
You know, you end up having to have two systems for a number of years. Just to let you know, there is some money out there that GFA offers, that if I proposed, put this in the right context, advanced meters that would suggest water savings, they would loan you money at a very discounted rate, but you would have to change out all the meters within 1 year at 100%, and you have to contract the labor to install them. So we couldn't do the installs ourselves, and they've learned their lesson is what it boils down to. They've offered this program, I think, for about 5 or 6 years, and when they first offered it, a lot of communities thought they could make conversion within the year, and they found that they can't. So now you can, so that's a lot of money. Just look at it this way. If you went with this meter, this is $380, and to make the conversion, and that's everything. That's not just the top that I'm holding in my hand. So, you know, do the math. You can see that can get rather expensive. But that money's out there, and they'd love you to utilize it. And look at it this way: every meter we change out that's 10 years old, we anticipate, or I don't know how true or accurate it is, but there's usually about a 20% loss on billing. So when we put a new meter in the ground, from the ground up, you know, right away that goes to, you know, your actual billing is out there. It's not missing a beat, is what I'm trying to say. Frank, this is where you pipe up.
Porter, we just did what you said, we replaced the entire.
So did you go through GFA?
We actually used, CARES Act.
Oh, did you use CARES Act?
It just was a timing issue that was available.
Cool.
But, you know, GFA's, you're exactly right, GFA will loan it, but you do have to contract it out to get it done.
Yep.
And we're about half the size of Lula as far as number of meters, so it took, the swap out took about 3 months.
There you go.
Just curious, did the improved efficiency in meter accuracy get realized at all that you could tell?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask us, yes. If you ask some of our customers, no.
You're right.
But the other aspect is it lets us go back, 30 days is easy, but it lets us go back about 90 days, and you can see by hour where the consumption occurred, so.
Yeah. And that is an online option for
This one's
customers to
not.
access?
This one's not, but the customer asks, we produce it while they're there.
You can produce a report.
Which is what we can do, but it's a challenge because it's man hours.
And not everybody has the meter that can do that.
Yep.
We aren't
So
there
when they
yet.
call up, we can look at the meter number right away, and we can tell you whether or not, that's available for you.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I will tell you this, and Frank could probably back this up as well. This is a chance for you to get points with me, Frank. So, as a rule, when a customer calls us up, they always want to be, our problem, and we understand that. We're very sympathetic to that. But when we go out and we look at it, 99% of the time we find out that the problem has been on the customer side, and nobody's ever happy to hear that. You get a water bill for $200. We understand that, but the good news is we can go out and read them, and we generally can find out. And Frank, we can narrow it down to when the water leak started and when it ended. So, and a lot of them know that already. But it's coming to that. And I will tell you, the demand for services, the day that it comes, and I've said this before, that that your meter can sense whether or not you have a leak, and you don't have that meter in the ground, your customers are going to come up here and say, so it's your fault that your meter's not calling me up and telling me that I have a leak, because it's going to be available to everybody else. But that's almost today, but it's probably, reality. It's probably 10 years from now before people will come in and say, well, they have them now. They'll turn off automatically, and they'll send you an email at night. You have a leak. We turn your meter down to 20% volume in order to save you dollars.
But they're not the $380 meters.
Well, actually, that right there this is alternatives. You can buy just the top, and this will do a lot of what. But if you're going to add on a portion that turns it on and off, well, now you're talking real bucks. And you can't. That's the same thing. Economy of scale. You couldn't afford that. How often do we turn off a customer? It'd be hard to make the numbers work. Is what it boils down to. So, all righty.
Thank you, sir. The Lula Development Authority kickoff meeting is scheduled for March 26th with new member vacancy.
So y'all got a letter. I think I resent it today. That you've had. Huh?
I think they were all copied.
Yep. So y'all got a letter from Craig
Sutton.
what's his
Sutton.
last name? Help me.
Craig
Sutton. And so he is not able to take that position. He's already moved, God bless him. And he would have been a great representative. So I talked with our commissioner today and reminded him he's making an appointment as well as serving. And I'm going to teasingly say, because we're online, if he can remember the 26th, he'll be here. So.
Yeah, Greg.
He's a busy guy.
I know.
So I reminded him about the appointment, which they haven't made yet, but anyway, they're proposing to add Matt Hamby as one of their representatives. So.
They are?
Well, we certainly one that we encourage them, we'll put it that way.
We gotta have one more for the city then.
Right, yeah, so now you would need one for the city, right? So y'all have any thoughts? I know y'all had explored this.
You only have one of the applications, is that correct?
Right, and I think we'll have to go back and look and pull those back up.
Lucink.
Yeah, and he owns a business, so we'd have to see where he qualifies
Yeah.
under.
Because he was borderline under process before,
Which one is that?
Mark Lucink.
Mhm.
That's why we chose Greg Sutton, because he lives in the service area.
So if y'all have some thoughts on that, and somebody out there that you might know of have an interest in helping serve the city, that's a great opportunity.
So this position, it has to be which one is?
Taxpayer residing in Lula, taxpayer residing in Hall County who operates a business in Lula, or taxpayer in Hall County who operates a business located in the water
Right.
service area. So that leaves out Tina Porter, because she does not live in Hall County. No, Tina Porter lives in Hall County.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
To my understanding, she does.
She owns a business here.
Right.
That's one possibility.
Yeah, I think the seat that was vacated was, lives in the water
Right.
area. operates
service
business
area.
in Hall County.
Right.
So he lives in the water area, that's what we need to feel, lives in the water area.
All right, give that some thought.
In business in Hall County.
So just to let you know, item 7, planning and zoning potential variance. We actually have the variance in-house. Joey, you've gotten that. You haven't set the dates on it yet, have you?
No, Frank gave me the details I needed so we can run the ads. It'll be May 7 and May 20. May 7 before the planning commission and May 20 before council. It's a side setback variance request.
Oh, you're talking about we're talking about 2 requests, oh. You're talking about Hemlock, that's pretty okay.
Yep.
I had another in my hand, so.
Item number 8, that would be to you, Joey.
Yes. I've just updated y'all on the de-annexation request that the city has received, and want to, just for tonight, outline the process, because the process changed May 2nd, 2023. And before the process changed, there would be an application submitted for de-annexation. The county would have to approve a resolution, in this case Banks County, and then it would be presented to the city for the approval or denial of the request. So as a courtesy to the county as well as to the citizen, we would have a preliminary review by council, because you have the ultimate discretion, and why would a citizen need to go through the effort of going to a county if the county approved it, you were going to decide or deny that request. So we follow that process and allow citizens to submit it to you ahead of time. But that is before it's taken to the county. Under the new statute, you follow the same process, but the statute now states that if the county governing authority, so in this case Banks County, approves the request, then the city must approve the request unless the city finds that the de-annexation would be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and property owners of the area to be de-annexed, or to the area remaining within the city. So again, we're still at the preliminary stage where there's not been a resolution from Banks County, but it's been submitted to the city, so that if you would say that you would not approve the request even if the county did, we just provide the county and the citizen that courtesy. So I've provided you the information tonight. John Dickerson is an attorney out of Toccoa, contacted me today, said he was discussing the matter with Mr. Griffin, and John would not be able to be here tonight, but said if he's able to be here next week, he would address the matter with council next week. So I give you all that background to say you are not required under the statute to render this preliminary decision, but we again have done that so that we can tell the county and the citizens who have made the request whether you would approve the request, and in this case, if you would not, what you deem to be detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the city if the de-annexation is approved. And I don't want to cut off, is there anybody here, because I'd had a couple of calls from representatives of the Griffin family that said they may be here, and I don't want to cut them off if they're here. I'll answer any questions y'all have, but I really, it's a process we don't deal with frequently, so I didn't want y'all to be unaware of what the procedure requires.
Okay.
And this was brought on, or came about, as we were discussing the bypass plans. And I know that, our last meeting that we did discuss additional bypass, options. And one of which I don't think that we got formalized, which was to reapproach Norfolk Southern to see if we can build a retaining wall to allow us to solve that problem that we have. And I know there was an issue with the property being owned by the railroad, and the thought was, you know, had we approached the railroad for that variance to build, and I know that was pitched to Brian Rent, and I don't know where that went from there. Do we have an option?
Let me give you a little bit of background on that. So first, we have had some discussion over the past couple of years with the railroad, but they want to see the specifics, and I understand where they're coming from. And when I say the specifics, we had proposed making some changes to that road because we had all these different options. You know, we could move the right-of-way over where we wouldn't have to address them. We could make improvements on the existing right-of-way. And what we found is the challenge back then was, until you gave them specific set of plans, they didn't want to have discussion. They send it to, well, Joey can comment on this. So they have 3 entities you have to try to make happy. And one is their real estate division, one is their legal division, and one is their engineering division. And the joke is, anybody that has had to deal with the railroad over the years, is who do you talk to first? Because inevitably, legal is going to tell you to talk to engineering, and engineering is going to say, has real estate signed off on that? I say all that to say, back to your question, Tony, because I heard it in the last meeting about the possibility of building a retaining wall or something like that that could support additional traffic. We can explore that, but I think here's the way their engineering works as it stands right now. One, they are going to want to see plans that would be supportive, but they don't do the engineering in-house. They assign their engineering, outsource it. And so what we've experienced and other communities have experienced is there's no incentive for them to give you a speedy reply because it's not in-house. Does that make sense? Because they're using an outside vendor. Let's get Brian Rent to comment on that, back to y'all specifically, so he can address that. I had talked to Brian last week. Frank and I talked to him, and we asked if there was an update on what was being proposed on the bypass, the idea of signaling a one-way light that would allow traffic to flow. And we'd hoped, Joey and I actually talked about it earlier, had we gotten anything yet? We haven't on that particular item, so I'm kind of jumping ahead. But let me include that too, and let him come back and comment on that. I think the challenge will be is, again, is designing something that that their engineering could sign off on, but it's going to have to be pretty complete. And Lord knows, then then Joey can answer the question on who do you talk to next? Do you talk to real estate or do you talk to legal? So, but let's see.
My question is, what qualifies as detrimental, the detrimental to health, safety, and welfare of residents? Is the Phelan Road, would that be included in that?
It's your discretion is the only good part about the statute as it's rewritten is as long as you're able to define and determine that that would endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. But a failing road, yes, would qualify.
And we actually had that conversation earlier this evening.
Okay.
It's it's one of those darn if you do and darn if you don't.
Right.
So I kind of moved y'all ahead, Mr. Mayor, so we left it at.
Special election.
Right, item 9. I apologize.
It's all right, no problem. I don't mind a bit. The special election will be May 21st from 7 to 7 at gonna be church. Okay,
Right.
It's to fill the vacant District 3 seat. In early voting is from April 29th through May 17th, and through both Saturdays. It's going to be at East Hall Community Center. And 8 to 5. And after requests are available, beginning March 4th, which has already happened. And the voting will be at the church on May 21st. All right, Cedar Creek.
Can I say something on that, on number 9? I know some citizens have already went and voted.
Not for this.
Early vote, I know that's what I'm gonna say. They've already went and done their early voting for this, but just remind y'all that you need to go back again.
That's presidential primary.
Because that's the primary, and you need to go back again because this isn't on the ballot yet.
If that's all you want to vote for, don't
Just
vote.
don't forget, don't think you voted in.
Right. You won't get to vote twice. They won't let you.
Right.
Okay. Cedar Creek, yeah.
So we got some preliminary plans last week that begin to give the detail on the interior of the property, and then satisfying some of, or trying to satisfy, they haven't satisfied yet, some of the requirements that came out from the DRI. And just to let y'all know, we're just not there yet. I mean, there's more that needs to be addressed, and I almost said the word wrong, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's more that needs to be resolved. And it's one of those back and forth type deals where it's easy for us to identify what needs to be corrected. I wonder sometimes if it's not a case of, well, let's give them this and we'll hold this back. So right now it's kind of one of those, and we just like to look at it one time and be done with it, you know, and them satisfy all that's expected of them, and we're not there yet. So we'll keep you apprised as that matures, but it's got a ways to go.
Okay. GDOT. Again. The hearing is tomorrow. Let's see.
I think that's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, I think.
Wednesday, I'm sorry, Wednesday. It's further down. It's down on here twice. Matter of
Yeah,
fact.
I've got a flyer on
Yeah.
it.
I got one too. It's Wednesday at their office on Jesse Parkway from
Starts at 5.
Yeah, from 5 to 7, I believe.
Yeah, 5 to 7. Okay. So everybody needs to go and express your opinion. I don't know if it'll help anything now or not, but at least we'll tell them what we
Yep.
think.
So we met last week, and I'll forward you, we met online, and I know not everybody
missed
could
that.
attend that, but anyway, it was surprisingly enlightening. And what's just a little bit disheartening is that that's the last meeting that we'll meet as this type of a group. And you know, this is a State Route 365 planning study. Well, we are not there yet, so we haven't resolved all the issues. And probably the biggest challenges we're going to face up in this area is identifying the funding. And let me give you the best example, which I hope everybody can attend. We need to continue to promote this for Wednesday night. They're talking about, we've all talked about this, if you're not on the boards with DOT in planning what we call the short-term work program, in the next 5 years, you're never going to get that project off the ground. You'll have to wait until it does get on the board. And then maybe the funding can be identified. Well, in this particular case, they were using the threshold of 2030. And their statement was, Frank's going to correct me on this, their statement was early on that they were actually using their threshold being 2050. And then they said, well, wait a minute, because there's nothing online right now on 2030. Well, what's to make you think if there's nothing online in 2030 that 2050? And that was actually everything we send you, you're going to see they use 2050 as the outline. What we need to be concerned about here in Hall County, I talked to Hall County about it last week when I had the chance. If we don't identify the funding and where this money's gonna come from at the state level and begin to get the support of our area legislatures and senators, guess who's gonna get stuck with a bill? And I've already heard it already. Aren't y'all passing T-Splosh? Don't y'all have T-Splosh? I heard this twice last Friday morning. Y'all are putting T-Splosh on the referendum. Well, they're wanting to spend your dollars that we shouldn't be obligated to, is what I'm trying to say. So if you can attend Friday or Wednesday evening, please take the time to do that. I'm going to send y'all the information that we covered in the slides. But the next thing that needs to happen is prioritizing what's going to take place and when, and getting the funding identified. And you know, Denise, I wanted so bad to, and I probably talked more than anybody in that online meeting, so I had to pick and choose where I wanted to make my argument. But at the separation of Highway 51 and 52, it's ridiculous that we haven't, you know, I actually wanted to bring, just so I won't stop, the railroad crossing at Highway 52, I want to bring that up too. It's ridiculous that this stuff isn't already on the drawing boards, that isn't in the 5-year short-term work program, that's not being done. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you're being neglected in North Hall. And I actually brought this up as nice as I could. When you look at the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Gainesville Hall County, in the last 15 years, ask me how many dollars have been spent north of the Gainesville city limits. And I brought that up at the meeting, not a dime. And we're talking well over $130 million. So at some point, we're going to get dumped. And it's not just going to be us. I was glad to see Habersham County was actually online the other day, because they're going to feel the effects of it as well because of the traffic backup. By the way, so you'll see the numbers yourself. Look at the trip times and how much they will increase from 15 to 35 minutes. So if you're living in Habersham County now and you live in Gwinnett County, or you work in Gwinnett County, you're either going to relocate or you're going to find a new job that's somewhere close to home, because that's what's going to happen to people. And that'll be the individuals being affected. So look at that. I just want to take a minute on that to say, you know, we're not where we need to be yet. We haven't identified how the funding, and like I said, I actually talked to Butch Miller Friday morning, because Butch still has a lot of influence, and suggested that the upcoming transportation meeting that we're going to have, that we get Russell McMurray, because he's a great guy, he's local, and he's the head of the DOT, and we get our delegation together and we all begin to understand the challenges we're going to face up here. Because it's not a matter of writing a check tomorrow, it's a matter of figuring out how to write a check 5 years from now. And I wish it was sooner than that, but that's reality. All right, I shut up and got off my pedal.
Well, I'm gonna say, please come out and attend, because I've been to a lot of these meetings, well, I'll say a lot, a few of the meetings, because they've not had a lot of meetings. That's why I retracted, sorry. DOT does not like focusing on this area at all. So when you're in the meetings and you're carrying on conversations, trying to find out what's going on here, they will take and pull you back over here, and you have to pull them back in to Lula. And it's a struggle. The whole conversation's a struggle. You're like, because you're talking about this area and they start talking about here, and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about there, I'm talking about here. What are you gonna do here? So go and talk to them and keep them pulled, because they don't stay here, they go. And the conversation, it's like tug of war, trying to pull, what are you gonna do here? And like the area he was just talking about, they hadn't even considered that area.
And that should
when I
have
was
been done
talking.
years ago. How many trucks do we have to roll over down there?
They're like, well, that's not on our, we've not been talking about that area. I'm like, yeah, but your trucks are gonna be right there, and they're not gonna make this turn because, well, we just had a chicken truck turn over again right there. I'm like, they're turning over here, and you're gonna put more trucks there, and they're gonna be in the ditch. So, but you can't keep them in the area right here, so attend and draw them this way as much as you can.
Two teasers. One is Does anybody think that they can build a roundabout at Athens Street and Main Street?
No.
Because I'm gonna tell, you know, when I questioned it, I said, so that's yeah, it would be a mini roundabout.
A mini, how?
But, right, so, next teaser, how many of y'all think the underpass up underneath the railroad out here could be improved upon to alleviate additional traffic?
Think about 14 buildings.
So we looked at that years ago, not because we wanted to, but because it was brought up. You would have to drop the elevation of Main Street by 18 foot. And going back to our friends at the railroad, make them happy with whatever changes you want to make. But those are things that y'all are gonna see in the online meeting that we had last week. They'll be in there. And interesting, like, the underpass was not identified as an underpass improvement. It was identified as old 51 at Main Street, and I asked, what is that? And that's when they said, well, that would be the underpass improvements. And I thought, oh, you know. And what bothers me, and should bother everybody here, proposing things that probably won't happen or aren't realistic gives everybody a false sense that we can improve upon it. And it's like the idea of building the roundabout at Main Street and Athens Street. You know, they don't control enough right-of-way right now, and you'd have to take probably the Veterans Park and all the buildings halfway down on Main Street in order to accommodate that, if they could do it. Because they're darn sure not gonna move the railroad, we know that. So, enough about that, Dennis. Hush. I've missed these meetings.
We missed you. Okay, street committee number 12. We've already sort of discussed the bypass alternatives, no updates, plus other things. The cover project.
So we met last week, again with engineering. They said that they told us that they hope to have the particulars on what we need for a construction easement and permanent easements, and they would have that to Joey this week. And I hadn't seen anything yet, and I know Frank hadn't yet as well. But that's dragged on way too long.
And our complete pavement's done, right?
Right, so I wanna make sure everybody's happy. If there's something out there that we need to address, I haven't gotten a written review of it yet, but what I've been told and what I've observed, we're pretty content right now.
Well, we did have one agenda request here, evidently for next week. Want to put a speed bump in front of the house at, on River Mist, on Lombardi Drive.
So I'll send y'all some information about that. Y'all, council, previous councils has addressed that, just so you'll know. So what, because it's a challenge about putting the speed tables in. Yeah. And y'all can look at what has been proposed in the past is you try to get everybody in the subdivision on board, because inevitably you put one in, there'll be
that's what this is. This,
right.
This results in Maiden Lane. That's what
yeah,
this
so,
is.
you know, I mean, this way the council can consider what options are available to you.
That's where this one came from. Okay, Parks and Festivals signage.
Yeah, so we hadn't done that yet. So Denise and Garnet, we need to figure out when y'all can meet. So Garnet, I know you got some things coming up.
Not Friday.
Trying to think
Can
what
you
I-
meet with me?
It would help if I could find my calendar. I believe. I could do, can you do Thursday evening?
Frank, you're not available Thursday, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So,
I'll have my schedule for next week tomorrow.
yeah, we don't probably want Frank
Yes.
there anyway, do we? I'm just
We're
teasing.
done with that. No.
I actually, you know, Thursday would be tough for me as well, unfortunately.
That's right, you got the doctor appointment or something. Yeah.
Give me a day this week, I don't have one, so it's ridiculous.
That's what I heard a while ago, yeah.
Jesus.
It doesn't have to be this week, we can. do
No,
this week.
well, I was gonna suggest if we, there's a chance we could knock some of this out, next Monday. If we met around 5, we could probably knock out this to give you all some time to think about it.
I don't know yet. I
All
won't know
right,
till
let's
tomorrow.
find out, and when you
Yeah.
find out, let me know.
I'll get my schedule tomorrow for next week.
And then Garnet, I'll give you a buzz and we'll see what works.
All right.
Okay, the Historical Society meets the fourth Monday of the month, which is 2 weeks from today, which is the 25th, is that correct?
I think you're right. Is that right?
22nd.
22nd, not a month. Today's the 11th.
Which, sorry, I'm looking at April. My apologies.
It's all-
Yes, the 25th.
And the little ladies lunch and dinner at Depot, which Wednesday is it? Which Wednesday?
Because they didn't send me a date. 25th?
That's on a Monday,
March 27th.
27th? There you go.
3/27. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And GMA registration is March 27th at 10 o'clock as well.
So you need a little guidance on that.
Yes.
So,
Y'all been there.
yeah, and I sent everybody the same notes. It's a nightmare. So I just sit with Garnet, and he can tell you how to do everything.
Gotcha.
He's done it more than once.
All I can advise you is to choose multiple classes and multiple hotels.
Be ready for it and be able to go down the list, but,
And the rest of
Yeah.
Georgia will be on there at 10 a.m.
If you can get on there.
Yes.
yeah,
I had a hard time last year.
yeah.
Do you have the information?
Not
on the
yet.
prices?
We've got the classes, we just don't have the time, the dates and the times. That should come out probably this week.
That's what I was
gonna say,
thinking,
yeah,
too.
they should send so that you can go ahead and start looking over your schedule to
Yeah.
what you wanna, what classes you wanna take. Yes, that should come out soon.
Yep, because what we did send y'all an email was, they had the classes, they didn't have whether or not they're 4-hour classes or
Right.
8-hour classes. And then, so that will help you, but, Tangi said it well, Juliet had said to me last week, gosh, I can go ahead and get my hotel booked. Well, no, you can't, because
No.
they got all the rooms already snatched up. And then, like I said, supposedly they get us all a discount. I don't agree with that. The good news is that, maybe I think they've gotten better every year. Let's see how they do. So you're gonna wanna come in Thursday night if you wanna take classes on, Friday. And then, Saturday, is a big day as well as, Monday and Tuesday. And then we already have a dinner invitation, so we'll talk about that for Saturday night, so we'll see where that goes. But we'll hold your hand on that. We wish we could do it for you, but they purposely have made it so we can't do anything more than hold your hand. It's very frustrating.
And
Oh, you will be. As soon as we get that permanent definite stuff, we'll talk to you
Yeah.
one-on-one.
uh,
More places available.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, well, when we get that, like, I'll make copies for everyone, so you can, look at it, not look at it online, but look at it.
Yeah, because I don't think we have the classes, we just don't have the days that are offered on all of them.
yeah, the
Well, we
classroom.
don't have all the hotels yet,
We don't have-
so we don't have
normally
any
they send all
information
that
on
out.
that.
And here we go, a reminder again, GDOT meeting is
Yep.
Wednesday, the 13th.
Yeah, I want the other
Five-
ones
five
on
to
there so
seven.
I can talk to you about what we did online, but go
Yeah.
ahead. Yep,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah, I missed that online meeting. I was working that day. So. Railroad Day is May 3rd and 4th. Sign up today, get your booths.
Going
And-
pretty quick.
Okay. We're gonna say a prayer for Mordecai during his minutes tonight. A silent prayer for Mordecai. His birthday is Friday, 99. I will have citizen comments. Anybody got anything they want to say?
Robert Grizzle, 6400 Narramore Way, Lula. I like what you said on the roundabout there, but of course, I don't think about probably 80% of Americans understand why we have four-way stop signs and have our steering wheel on the left-hand side of the car. It was a war a long, long, long time ago, and that's why we don't do that. But they do help in some sense. But the railroad, and I think, you know, the Griffins are, I think the world of Lane and Kitty, they're a beloved family here in Lula. So this is a real touchy subject that everybody's got to look at. But the safety of citizens is also a big issue. The railroad is a very difficult people to deal with. I've had to deal with them myself, and, you know, even in commerce, dealing with them. You know, be very careful when you mention retaining wall. I think a retaining wall would give a good buffer for safety out there, but you better be very specific what you tell
Well, that's
them.
what, you gotta give them a design they could even.
Right,
say.
because what they showed up in commerce, because their railroad was, you know, literally coming down into the road, the gravel and everything. So they came to put a retaining wall in and used used guardrails. So, guardrails. It looks ridiculous, but it did the job. But, you know, again, be very careful with what's spoken with them on a design of a retaining wall. But ultimately, you know, we've got to have something for the train. You know, they park it there. I mean, my goodness, one day the train was there. He was about 10 or 12 foot over into the main crossing. He was 30 foot away from the barefoot crossing. If he could have pulled the train up a little bit, it would have opened up one of the crossings. But they don't have to do it. You know, nobody can say anything to them. There are other recourses with the train, I found out, but we do need a safer crossing, and obviously the underpass is not it. And elevation is a big deal, but you go down to, what is it, not Peachtree, Pleasant Hill Road. They made it happen down there. Of course, we're not that big of a road, but somehow, and I think the railroad should have to be part of it. And this inland port, as you said, none of the money comes up here.
And interestingly, for those that have attended these meetings, what's the one entity that has not been in a single meeting? North Fork Southern.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how that works.
Well, most
They
of the
can't be a
people
part
that's
of it.
involved in that port live on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
That's why none of the money comes up here. But we need to start going to something that pulls that money that we deserve, especially with the inland port coming, and that railroad has got to be fixed for those trucks to pass.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody else? You're fixing to do what I was going to do, aren't you?
Hello, my name's Debbie Smith, and we are planning, on behalf of the Lula ladies, we are planning a special birthday party for Mordecai at his house on Friday, March the 15th. He'll be 99 years old. It will be a drop-in birthday party at his home, and the address is 5980 Moon Drive, from noon until 6 o'clock. Hope a lot of people come out and support this. I did just recently get a text. His nurse is trying to reach out and find out what's going on with Mordecai, so we need to remember him in our prayers. Thank you.
Anybody else? Since Mordecai's passed out his reading for tonight, I'm going to read it in his place. Things the citizens of Lula want to know. The City Council has the duty and the power to seek after the things that can make Lula a better place to live, work, and play. Some of which would be a grocery store, a meat market, a library, a clinic, and a community center. The City Council can engage the advice of the mayor, city manager, planning committee, and others to make Lula a wonderful city everyone can be proud of. The most important thing that all of us should remember is we all should strive to get knowledge and understanding for how and what is needed to move forward. The thing with citizens that want to ask our city official is what kind of vision do you have to make Lula an outstanding citizen where everyone near and far will want to come here to live. We citizens may be the engine of this city of Lula, Georgia, but since we have elected you council members, you are the gasoline to take this engine of Lula to a new level of performance where everyone can prosper. Now, all you council members, please start talking and planning. You have the mayor, the city manager, and the city attorney, among others, who can help you accomplish the goals which are vital for our growth and development. Even when God removed Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, He also gave them a way back to get back to him. You have given the authority of the citizens who voted for you to make the tough decision to move us forward. We citizens want to ask all of our city officials, regardless of their position, what do you need to light the way to success? One suggestion, we want all of our city representatives, no matter their position, to have meekness and not weakness. Meanness is power under control. We citizens want all of you to have the aptitude and confidence to affect change. Sometimes we citizens feel we are underwater too. So if you are asking what we want most, it is air to breathe, the fresh breath of progress and hope. We citizens want all of you to consider and understand what hindsight has cost us and what foresight can bring us. We citizens may sound like a broken record, but these are the things that are needed to grow Lula, such as a grocery store, meat market, a small clinic, a community center, and improvements at local park. Whether we have biological or foster children, we're expecting them to accomplish more than we did in our lifetime. To accomplish this, we citizens want and expect all of our city officials to show us their character so they can bring about things that make Lula a great city everyone can be proud of. We citizens of Lula, Georgia, are asking all of our city officials, regardless of your position, to take it very seriously and carry out the duties you were elected to do. As I approach my 98th birthday, I personally want every one of you, no matter who you are, to know how much I personally appreciate the love and respect you have shown me being a citizen of Lula. It's changed my life completely to have the love and support of this community. That's why I love it so. May God give you the knowledge and ability to love and lead this community too. Thank you and bless you all. Mordecai. Okay.
God bless.
All right, citizens' comments. Let's start with Tony Blank.
Sure. I just want to say, thank you all for, being here in person, and also those that are watching online. What you saw, this evening, we had a lot on the agenda. We'll have, the same, maybe more on the agenda for next week. Just be mindful of the calendar of events that we have regarding the inland port, so we certainly do need your support for that. I can't stress that enough. So anytime that you can express, your concerns with Georgia DOT, we need your help. Thank you.
Denise?
I don't know how to follow that.
That's why I picked you.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out, and I'll just second what Tony said. I don't really have much to say, y'all. I'm short and sweet tonight.
It's sunny today.
It is. It's sunny today.
All right, Garnet?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and we sure do need more people to come. Hope Mr. Mordecai gets to come back home.
Yep.
Juliet?
I'm just gonna echo the same things everybody else has said. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And just hope Mr. Mordecai does come home.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ron Smith, and Denise Shockey, adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.